Hi, Soul Fam, welcome back. Today, I want to continue the conversation about the Kundalini awakening, the spontaneous Kundalini awakening that I received early last year, right? So, to be specific, it's the February of 2024, and that was when I had my 42nd birthday. Yeah, so it's definitely more than a year ago. And I know that I have talked about it a little bit here and there, mentioned it in some of my videos, but I did not actually go into full details of how that spontaneous Kundalini awakening came about, how it was brought about. And so today I felt like I want to cover this topic, which is that a spiritual awakening, especially one that is so tremendous that it brings on a Kundalini awakening. And let's not forget, a Kundalini awakening is something that a lot of practitioners, deep spiritual practitioners, spent many, many years meditating and performing yoga to achieve. They perform that in their own way, coming into one and union with consciousness and bringing themselves closer to that state where they receive their Kundalini ascension. And therefore, for this to spontaneously happen for me was something that was surprising. I was definitely feeling very special. I will not lie. I was feeling very special. But yet at the same time, it was profound to know that it can happen when you're aligned. And of course, I don't use the word alignment lightly. I will go into details of what alignment embodies and what it encompasses. And that's why we have this video today. I want to talk about the full details of what exactly happened for me and to me that brought on the spontaneous Kundalini awakening. It was a lot of, as per the title, it was a lot of chaos. There was a huge amount of reality coming into some collapse. And that is the very truth and the very essence of a spiritual awakening where the universe is doing everything it can to push you in the right place, right direction, helping you come closer to achieving your destiny and not simply be a non-active character in a reality that you did not have anything to participate in. So we're talking about coming into a place where your soul actually wields its own sovereignty to then create that reality and that destiny for yourself. And you're not just floating around in existence, being thrown into a timeline that you simply have no control of. Okay? So, and this is storytelling, so it might be longer than the usual. I'll see where this goes. So, as most would have known, I actually went through a lot of trauma in a very, very toxic relationship. And I will say it's not just one toxic relationship. The one toxic relationship was a very strong connection in my life at that point. It was my ex-boyfriend / ex-husband. I spent an approximate, let's see, before I lose the numbers. So that was, I'll say an approximate 18 years of my life knowing that person. And of the 18 years of my life, a good part of it, we were committed as boyfriend and girlfriend. And then another good part, so like half and half, another good part of it, we became as a married couple, right? So boyfriend / husband. And that person also was the very person I was with in terms of running a business together. And that individual was one of the biggest factor of my learning in that part of my life. I think I mentioned this before. I do not want to cast any blame, fault on this individual. A lot of things happened for a reason. A lot of things were soul contract basis. A lot of things that happened was soul contract basis. And thereby, not only have I gone into a space of forgiveness, I'm even currently in a space of gratitude pertaining to this person and any situations that happened with this person. Okay? And so therefore, this person, my ex, was a big factor of my growth in terms of catalyzing that growth with whatever happened. There were other individuals, I would say thereabouts, less than a handful, maybe just 3 or 4 other individuals that shaped my story, my reality, my circumstance. And when I say shaped, I'm not saying it was even deliberate. Again, a lot of these relationships were formed in this life based on a soul contract that was formed prior to us coming here. And with that said, a lot of situations were falling into place due to the soul contract and due to the storyline we were all playing out for each other. And so therefore, those other individuals who also played their own part in co-creating those stories with me also co-created and catalyzed my growth through pain, trauma, turmoil, suffering, struggle in its own way, shape, and form over the span of approximately, I'll say 18 or 16 years, thereabouts. Okay, so you can imagine how long that period was. Okay, so that's the foundation that I'm laying to help you all understand where I came from back then, before I walked into my power here as the alchemist of my life right now and helping others, right? Before I'm in this chapter of my life, which has been approximately 8 years now. Prior to that was a whole bunch of what I consider a past chapter, a past life with those individuals. Now, I do not have any contact with those individuals anymore ever since things ended back then about 8 years ago. I have not actually even seen or heard from them. Okay, so in the beginning, when I would say, okay, so dating back 8 years ago, right, when I freshly severed ties with these individuals, if I were to be on the street, I might occasionally bump into them. And because I was freshly out of that situation, I would say that, of course, bodily, emotionally, every aspect of my essence, my being, was carrying still the trauma that was unprocessed. It was, when you physically sever ties with somebody who has, some people, in fact, who has had put you through a lot, even though you're physically gone from these people, you're on an energetic level. We are actually still very connected to that past, to the things that happened, especially when there was a lot of trauma. It's woven into the soul's memory at that point. So the detox that one would think is not just physically you're detoxing, you're physically away from these people. You also have to emotionally and psychologically, on a spirit level, detox. Okay, so anyway, 8 years ago, when I freshly severed ties with these individuals, I still was spirit-wise in a space of processing the trauma. I don't use this term lightly, because I think these days this term is used very loosely, but I will say that I truly was going through a complex PTSD. And because I very fast, I would say very, very, by the grace of the universe and by the grace of my guides helping me, I was actually very soon walking into a new chapter of my life with the new with the new person in my life, and that person is my current husband now, we were meant to align and meet. And the stars have been waiting for, actually, the cosmic energies have been waiting for us to come into alignment for a while. While I was going through my timeline, he was going through his parallel. We were both going through the different tribulations of our life at the same pace in his own world. I was in my own world at that time. Our realities were meant to merge at some point. So anyways, almost quite soon after I ended my situations and relationship and connections with those people in my past, I very soon in the new chapter met my new person, who is now my current husband. And because of that situation, I did not really put a lot of mind and work into processing the pain, the trauma, and anything that might trigger me. So with that said, it means that I actually needed to do a lot of shadow work. I needed to do a lot of healing. So even in that space, in the first, I would say 2 years of me walking in my new life, living my new life, I still carried with me a lot of residual energetic connections from the past relationships and life. And that put me into a place of realizing that deep healing is extremely necessary, so that I do not take the energy from the previous relationships and allow them to fester into what could be my shadow's way of projecting in my new relationship. I apologize if you're hearing drilling. There's drilling here every day. Every neighbor, left, right, and center is having a renovation. Anyways, I'm sorry for that, but okay, let's continue. So my current relationship in the first 2 years made me realize that I had to process my pain the right way. So I did. Anyways, it actually worked very well once I put my mind to healing my soul and doing proper soul work and shadow work. And onwards into the 3rd, 4th, 5th year. So in year 2024, as I would say in year 2024, we were in our nearly coming to the 7th year at that point. Yes. I walked my life and my path as a person who is not only spiritually engaged in my own world, in my own practice, but also helping others. Thinking that I am as healed as can be. Boy, was I wrong. Okay, so this, I have to roll this back a couple of months. Actually, in the year 2023, somewhere in the April-May period, I met someone, a new friend. And when I met this new friend, she's a boisterous, vivacious, very warm and cheerful character, very confident of her words, and she's a straight shooter, lovely lady. She's a dear friend of mine. We made friends at that point, and got acquainted really fast on many grounds and bases, because that individual, her energy was just warm and beautiful and very honest and down to earth. I had, in many ways for those years, right, for the past few years, I'm very frequently keeping to myself due to a lot of things that happened in the past when I overtrust, overgive, and sort of gave my time and energy away too easily. I actually started practicing a more reserved way of allowing people into my life and my interaction with them. That's not saying that I don't trust people. I actually do have a very natural trust for most individuals I'm the sort that's like 100% trust. I give you 100% benefit of the doubt, and I only start taking that trust away gradually once I sense something's not right with this person, until it finally is a straight up no for me, and then my boundaries are very hard at that point. And so because I am such a trusting individual, I realized that, hey, it's part of my healing process made me realize, in order to regain my sovereignty and power and draw my boundaries the right way, I actually withdrew my interactions with the outside world and became very curated with who I meet or talk to or hang out with. So in 2023, in about April-May period, when I met this individual, I was very, very enamored and welcomed by her warm energy. And so I went full in to that friendship. And there was a lot of meetups, a lot of hangouts, a lot of opening one's heart and talking about the past. And a lot of what happened to me in the past was being shared, because it's through this sharing there was also mutual healing in the process as we hear each other's stories. And so when the trust is given like that, that's when I really became much more vulnerable. And that's good for me, good for my soul. So I suppose. And like I said, let's not forget, at that point, I thought I am all healed. I thought I am so healed, there's nothing left to heal, right? And that is a kind of spiritual ego, a kind of spiritual bypass, I might even say. So I, too, committed the mistake of thinking like spiritually I managed to achieve or embody or acquire that level, that degree of proficiency, whatever you want to call that. And this is the point, right? As we move in this journey of spiritual discovery and awakening, if we were to be fully honest with ourselves, we can say that, no, it's never going to finish. It's never fully 100% you're done, because that is what the whole point of being human is. We still have our ego. We still have hurts, pains, memories, things that we can't let go. We are constantly in the process of cultivating ourselves, disciplining ourselves, and embodying the higher ascension path. Okay, anyways, before I lose my train of thought talking about that, I just want to then smoothly continue this story, which is, as we process our relationship, me and this friend, into the months of October, as I was casually browsing Instagram, her Instagram page one day, I suddenly saw a photo with a person in it that gave me the chills. Apparently, this newly found friend of mine, newly acquainted person of a friend of mine, she just had some kind of casual hangout with a bunch of friends in other spaces, okay? And had some kind of like home party gathering. In the photos that she posted in her Instagram, I saw a very familiar face. It's one individual who hurt me a lot when I was in that past chapter of my life. Okay? That person, one of the many people who I was very hurt by, who I was very betrayed by. And I have already severed my connections with that person, right? I have not seen, heard, don't know anything about what's going on in their world, because I don't want to know and I don't need to know. But of course, like I said, I thought I healed myself, right? I thought I'm healed and I'm good. I am A-okay. But when I saw that person's face in my new friend's Instagram post, I suddenly got hit so hard, like I was having a panic attack. I got the chills, I was shaking, I was cold, like blood just drained from my face and my fingers and all the way down to, like, it disappeared into the earth, and I was just cold. And suddenly what seemed like a panic attack came upon me, and I was having difficulty breathing, like tightness in the chest, and a lot of bodily memory of what was in the past came back to me and hit me quite hard for at least, I mean, of course, it's not like non-stop, because if it's non-stop, I'll be hospitalized, but it came and go, or at certain time, the moment I think about it, like it would come. So I could not stop thinking or obsessing over why. How is it that she know her? How did they get acquainted? How is it true? What kind of means? Are they friends? Have they been friends for a long time? So there were many tropes that were unraveled at this point, as you can imagine. One is my new friend betraying me? Because she obviously heard about my past story. Is my new friend betraying me and befriending my enemy from the past? Is my enemy from the past in her own way stalking me and finding out who is my new? It's like really ridiculous thoughts, right? Like, oh, did she stalk me? Did she find me through this new friend of mine and is trying to get into my inner circle and trying to find out what I'm up to? Like, the most insecure, the most random, irrational, illogical thoughts surfaced. And all that was clearly my shadow working its chaos in me. Anyways, I think I was on this mode for about 2 or 3 days, and I did not even dare. Some might say, oh, just go confront your friend and ask her, not confront in a bad way, but just go ask her, how is it that she knows her? You know, it sounds petty. Honestly, if now I were to think about it, it sounds honestly so petty. And that's what brings me to this next point I'm going to talk about. I think this thing bounced around inside me for this trauma, this dredging up the pain, hurt, suffering, betrayal, the feelings that were not just felt emotionally and psychologically, but also manifesting in my body, was just hitting me in all the places for about 2 or 3 days. And finally, I had enough on the third day. I just sat there. Once again, I think my higher self and spirit was really descending upon me at that point and saying, and I heard words loud and clear. I was literally having a conversation with my higher self, and the very words were, Lydia, why are you so uncomfortable with the idea that your friend has a social circle that is outside of just you and her, and that this friend of yours can very possibly, in tiny little Singapore, coincidentally also know this other person who was from your past? Why does this hurt you so much? I asked myself that question. And after asking myself that question, it led me to the next question. Before I could even answer that question myself, I asked myself again, so what she knows her? Excuse me. So what she knows her? So what she knows her now? And so what if they are some degree of close friends? Does that mean that this new person you met, whom you have liked for the past few months and hang out with for the past few months, does that mean that there's no credit nor quality to that friendship? Does that take anything away? And then a lot of this sparked my inner self to answer those questions, which is, yes, I was probably really petty. But why am I so petty? Why am I so triggered? I thought I was healed. Does this mean I'm not healed? So my healing was just surface level healing. my healing, thinking that I have forgiven. And truly at that point, I will say without any without a shred of doubt, I actually really forgave the individuals from my past that betrayed me. But then that's when I asked myself, what is true forgiveness? Is forgiveness when you forgive to the extent you realize this individual should no longer be subjected to your judgment, harsher opinions, casting any form of prejudice or biasness against? And if so, then why can't this person from my past live as normal a life can be and no more friends, which coincidentally can be this new friend of yours? Anyway, so I was having a lot of conversations in my head with myself, my higher self, who was trying to set things right and set things straight with my shadow. My shadow was, of course, manufacturing the worst case scenario, the most irrational, the most illogical, the most lower vibrational intentions within me. In the past, in the first 3 days of discovering this other friendship that happened right behind that is out of my realm of control. But it was so interesting because these individuals from my past had, again, Singapore is so small. If you were meant to bump into someone, you would. Okay, trust me, this happens so much, and people all say that. So why is it that these individuals from my past, sorry, I have to keep repeating myself because I'm trying not to get anyone confused here. Okay, these individuals from my past, why is it that I have not run into them on the streets for so long, ever since I thought I healed, right? Like 5-6 years. And then suddenly they show up, one of them show up in my new friend's IG. Anyways, I spent maybe about another day or two talking to myself and really understanding where my heart was at, where my soul was at. I had a very honest conversation. My higher self was really schooling my shadow at that point to the honesty that I have to come clean with myself. Have I truly healed? What does healing look like? If I forgive, what is the definition of forgive? What is the realm of forgiveness? If you forgive someone, then they are free to no longer be subjected by your resentment in any way, shape, or form. So how is it that her becoming friends with another friend of mine is like such a big deal? And my new friend did not betray me. So why did I jump to conclusions that she betrayed me? So I obviously still had at that point, the spirit of betrayal was what hurt me in the past. Obviously, that was the one of the biggest pain point of my past life that followed me through. If I were to transmute and energetically rewire this energy inside me, this is the very crux of the subject that is occurring now in this scenario that is asking me to work on. So I was actually at that point able to perceive that this is a huge opportunity that the universe is making me learn. Simply put, the universe is saying, Source is saying, you thought you healed, but your healing was shallow. You thought you forgave, and you thought you've moved on, but that was all surface level. Real, deep level healing comes from true embodiment of compassion, because it is with the perspective that has shifted to a point where you realize that all living beings, no matter how big, how small, how their stories have occurred in any way, shape, or form, be it perceived high or low in the eyes of any other living creatures, every soul desires love, deserves their free will and chances on earth, and should not, while they go through their own trials and whatever story unfolds in their life, a lot of things that occur are soul contract bound. A lot of karmic debts and soul connections were woven into a person's life such that it's lived out and led out a certain way. So with that thought, it brought me to the realization that if I wrote this storyline with this individual, I'm talking about the one from my previous relation, the past connections. If I wrote this storyline with that person to do what we had to do, to go through what we had to go through, and if that truly is now over and behind us, the karmic connection has been, the karmic contract has been completed and severed. So why should I hold anybody hostage, anybody's image or energy hostage, to the extent where I'm even holding my own freedom and happiness hostage? So it's with that understanding that brought me to the next level. The energetic release was actually really big, because this realization shifted the energy core of my heart chakra. I mean, if you could visualize it, it is as though there was a code that locked up a certain passageway in my heart chakra that disallow the flow of energy from my entire being, from base to crown, because the heart chakra was having a blockage. And this was the very issue that was causing my heart chakra to have that blockage. This very thing where I was supposed to heal, I thought I healed. My healing was on a shallow level, and Source gave me the chance to, using this instance, using this scenario, like this will keep coming if this one I missed it, to be frank. It will come again and again. I'll be given chances to work on it. But this time, it occurred like this, in this situation. One new friend met one old person, one previous person in my life that I know, right? Do I choose true love for my friend and compassion for the former, and understand that we are all one? We are all one. We go through what we go through in a storyline, in a soul contract, in a karmic situation. We may end up in a situation where we catalyze one another's growth. In not everything is going to be a beautiful story. Some can be very painful. But that's it. If forgiveness is a real thing that I have done, and it's not just kidding that I am forgiving, then I must walk the talk. So this followed me, this processing and understanding and looking deeper into my healing journey came through that time of December of 2023 all the way into the next following 2 months, which is February of 2024, my birthday month. And as my birthday month came, I came to a point of deeper awakening, where finally I embodied the essence of what true forgiveness is. And again, it's like you unlock one thing and the next thing gets opened and is even more blissful than the states the states of energy that I was flowing in was bliss. Because as I slowly allow my shadow to be schooled by my higher self about this situation and the subjects that I was meant to process, the transmutation process was going through, right? From October to November to December, I was constantly meditating, talking to myself on this, and consulting spirit on this situation, trying to go deeper and deeper into what does it mean to really forgive, what does it really mean to love, what does it really mean to love myself and love others, and understand the construct of soul contract and karmic ties woven into our storyline as we live a life here. So by the time it was February and my birthday, the level of oneness was so high that I was feeling a kind of bliss that brought me into a state of full gratitude. It's the gratitude that I've come to this realization. I am so thankful that I have the chance in this lifetime to be able to embody this understanding and come into that level of realization and learning of what it means to be integrated with other souls in this existence, in this entirety of consciousness. And right about the turn of my birthday, which is 15 February, I immediately had a fever. Okay, so this is when the Kundalini awakening occurred without me even knowing that's what it was. I suddenly had a fever. And at first, like anybody who has a fever, you think, oh, it's just a fever. Maybe you got a flu. Maybe I got a flu. Maybe I got some kind of infection. But there was nothing. There was no flu, no cough, no problem in the nose or throat. I was not having like dengue fever or anything. I went to do a blood test because this fever persisted. It was not just one day. It was not, I had to suppress it with taking paracetamol. I had to suppress it. It was just constantly there, and it was borderline uncomfortable. Even if it's not at the peak of the fever, I managed to bring it down, but I was just borderline 38 degrees, 38.5, 39, and then, just around those lines. And then it persisted until day 3, and then I went for a blood test, and the blood work came back and said I was perfectly fine, there's nothing. So it was mysterious as could be, and then it just went on. I was like, when is it ever going to end, and what the hell is this? It actually went all the way into the 7th day of this persisting fever. It was not COVID, by the way. It was really not, because I did multiple tests and it was not. So I have no idea. But actually, throughout the whole time when I was having it, I was not miserable. I mean, fever, I'm hot, uncomfortable, all that. There was no cough, no nothing else though. But I was every night when I sleep, it seems like I was having a lot of different kind of downloads. And I would wake up with a even newer perspective of my life and the entirety of the meaning of my existence and the work that I'm doing and all that stuff. So as I entered into the 7th day of my fever, I really was counting all the different things that did occur, because it's still a mystery. It's still a mystery to me at that point. Like, why am I having this kind of fever for like, so weird. I lied down in my bed at night, and as I was sleeping, I felt this. The heat was, of course, there the whole time. I was feverish, right? My whole body is in pain and aching from the fever. And I felt this source of heat that is mixed. It's almost like two energetic balls. One is hot and one is cold. And they were having like a spiral dance from the base of my body, which is around the hip area, the legs and the hip area. And it was throughout the whole night. I did not sleep properly, right? 7 days of fever. What can you imagine, right? And then going up gradually into my belly. My belly was weird. The feeling was weird, like hot and cold, hot and cold. And then I felt it go up gradually. I'm not going to say specifically there was like any kind of pain in the chest or anything, but so the one that really hit me in the head, pun intended, okay, was in the middle of the night. This hot, cold balls of energy shot straight up to my crown. And I don't know why, but my eyes were closed. I was in the astral. I am that sort of dreamer whereby I am one foot in the astral and 1 foot in the reality. I can hear what's going on here while I can hear what's going on there. So I was very aware that my body has all these sensations and the energy was traveling up to my crown. At the same time, I was very aware that my spirit was in the astral and coming into the presence of an entity. And don't ask me why, okay? It just happened. I found myself in the middle of a enclosed hall with the hieroglyphs on the wall, and I was being told that this is where the rebirth is going to happen. Just a voice was telling me, this is where you're going to be born again. And I was just taking it as it comes, seeing all the hieroglyphs. And the next thing I know, all these parted, and I was teleported to Buddha. In Chinese, I believe they will say this is Ru Lai Fo. But in my vision, I saw that Ru Lai Fo, the Buddha, the Grand Buddha, in front of me. And the words, of course, being telepathically conveyed to me was, you are the source of light and love. At that point, that hot and cold energy in my body was so saturated in my head, my whole body was like stiffening up. You know how if somebody were to use that, you know, that multi-prong metal thing that people would do in your head to like give you the tingles? Yeah, I was experiencing that, but of course with the energy inside me. It's as though somebody gave me that tingles. Something shot right through my head, and like lots of things were being downloaded at that point when I heard Buddha say that to me. My whole body was stiffening up. And my husband's sleeping next to me at that point because it's like 3 or 4 a.m. And when all these subsided, of course, the dream, the vision ended, and all these subsided, I suddenly found myself feeling not feverish anymore. Suddenly, the fever broke. And I was just lying down there feeling absolutely okay. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to take more pills to suppress the fever, because for the past 7 days, that's actually what happened. I had a lot of pills to suppress the fever. I just like that. I think, yeah, middle of the night. And then I think my husband turned around. He saw me. He felt that I was awake. He asked me, what's up? And I said, it was so weird. I don't know what happened. I am light and love. It was like, and he must be thinking, feverish, dreaming, okay, whatever. So I went back to sleep. The next day I processed it slowly. Next few days I processed it. And it actually took me another few more days of meditating deeply in that and thinking it through, that I realized that probably was what is Kundalini awakening, but brought on in a very spontaneous way, because I went through a season of deep processing my shadow, and allowing the lock of my heart chakra to break open and let my energy pass through. Okay, so for those who thanks for sticking with me. The story is really long. I know that so far it's one of the longer videos I made in a while. If you find this similar to your experience, please do share in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I know that a lot of individuals either have been practicing and cultivating themselves for many years to get a Kundalini, they call it Kundalini meditation, Kundalini yoga. Some people literally are looking for that awakening, so they practice and practice to bring about an awakening or coming into that blissful state with one. And so I'm not actually particularly conditioning myself or nor practicing to achieve that. So when it did happen for me, and on such a spontaneous ground, not only was I surprised and finding it hard to really let that sink in, like it took me a while, but when it finally did sink in for me was when I realized I was starting to operate in my daily work and the way I think and the way my energy was going through everything that I do, was channeling a very Christ-like energy. And which is why, if you had watched my past few videos, I did a series talking about Christ consciousness energy coming into me. So for those who think, oh, Buddha is Buddha, Christ is Christ, Kundalini is another thing, actually no, they are all the same thing. They're all the state of union with one conscious energy coming into embodiment. It's just that, of course, different culture have spent time through their own cultural background, create different practices. But spirit and soul, our spirit and our soul, as all human beings are, there is no difference. We achieve oneness and divine direction and togetherness with consciousness as the same thing, no matter what color you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what language you speak. So anyways, this is a story that brought me my spontaneous Kundalini awakening. It was from the chaos that occurred, even though I thought things were peaceful. It was from the collapse of the harsh reality that I was wrong. I was not healed. My shadow still had its grip on me. I was so flawed and incomplete in the way I perceive what forgiveness means, what compassion and love means at that point, that I could not embody it on a shadow level. It was all these that broke the truth wide open to me, that I need to look deeply into that and discipline and transmute myself and that process before I can say I am there, right? And so this brings me to the point where I said, if you are looking to grow, evolve, and ascend on this journey of your soul coming into alignment and seeking its divine purpose in this lifetime, it is work. It is not a shortcut. You cannot just wing it. You cannot lie to yourself and think you have it when you don't have it. It takes real discipline. And I've seen a lot of individuals having that potential in them. It takes discipline. It takes belief. It takes being vulnerable and allowing yourself to process. So oversaturating yourself with distractions and external content sources that take you away from processing is, of course, going to deviate you from your divine path. And I would like to have deeper conversations about that in another series or video. But for now, I am thankful if you stayed with me to hear the whole story. I know that there was a lot of repeating of myself here and there, because I'm really, really trying not to leave out the essence of the story. And of course, I don't want to confuse anyone with the whole this friend and that friend and the past and the present. Anyways, I welcome comments. I welcome anybody who wants to share with me your story. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much for your time. I'll see you at the next one.